Okay, this is another exciting edition of the Film Log. And what we're going to do is be talking about the films I've seen over the last few days. We are now into the Philadelphia Film Festival. Started on the 18th. I've been going to films at the festival since the 19th. So far I've seen two films. I'm going to talk about them today. And, my impressions of the festival so far. The first film that I viewed was the Iran Job, which I saw on the 19th of October. And the Iran Job is a documentary about a African American from the U.S. Virgin Islands, which is kind of interesting, who went to who he was a college star. He played in college in Jacksonville, Florida, I think, but he never made it to the NBA. But he received the opportunity to play overseas. After playing in several countries, the opportunity to play in Iran was offered to him, and he ended up playing in Iran for 3 seasons. And it's just about his experiences in the first season of playing in Iran. The documentary itself was pretty good. It was an enjoyable documentary. I think it's accessible. You know, just dealing with the uh, the exploits of the main character, whose name I can't really think of right now. It was interesting. He was an interesting enough character to follow. He was charismatic. He bonded well with the Iranians. And then they also did a little bit on the political background, which some of the politics they were presenting I didn't agree with that much, but it wasn't so far left or right. It was kind of in the middle, so I don't think it would upset too many people. The one issue with this film is the has nothing to do with the film. I gotta take it back. It was all to do with the presentation of the festival. The when I went there and I was waiting, found out that it was sold out. I was a little bit surprised because when I first started to go into the festival, the Philadelphia Film Festival, just about every film I went to was sold out. I mean, down to the last seat, it was gone. And this is back in the early 2000s when I would go to films. Now, and I noticed this, I think, starting in 2005, which was the last festival I went to before the one last year. There's a lot of empty seats now. There's a lot of space. You know, it's rare for a showing to be sold out. Where there's absolutely no seats left. Uh, so when I heard that that particular showing of the Rand Job was sold out, I was a little surprised based on the movie and the time. It was like a 12 o'clock showing. But we quickly found out the reason why it was sold out is that 120 school, like elementary school kids, were viewing the movie. It was like a school trip. Now, 120 kids, that's not one classroom. I mean, that has to be at least, I'm thinking Philadelphia public schools. That's anywhere from 4 to 7 classes, you know. So it's just a ridiculous number of kids to have in a movie theater. And the thing is, I have nothing against kids. I love kids. But, when you go to the art house cinemas, it's very rare that children are there. Even in a child-friendly movie like the film that they showed, this is not a festival film, film I talked about several times and did a video on, Cat in Paris, which was kid-friendly. I didn't see any kids there. I mean, it was only adults. Most of the films they show are not kid-friendly. Um, from just subject matter alone, they're often not kid-friendly. Uh, so it was very unusual, and it affected slightly my enjoyment of the film. Um, I mean, having that many kids and then their supervision wasn't the greatest. There was maybe 4 or 5 adults trying to keep those kids under control, and they didn't do a great job of doing it. They didn't do a terrible job, but they didn't do a great job. Satisfactory job of keeping the kids under control. And the kids weren't too wild. They came in, they was running around the theater a little bit, and um, I mean, it feels like on a scale If 10 of complete chaos and like a 0 of, complete order, it was probably like a 5. You know, I mean, the kids in the end did not really affect my enjoyment of the film, but just having that many kids there was a distraction. So that was the one thing about that film. The director was there. I did not stay for the Q&A, because it was just so many masses of kids, and I was sitting there in the back. I said, let me get out of here, because once that mass of kids start moving, you're gonna be glued to your seat. You're not gonna be able to move through those kids. So as soon as the film was over, I just got up and left. So that was the first film I saw. The second film saw today, and it was War Witch. Now, this is actually, I said in the previous video that it was from the Central African Republic. This film, they don't really say where the events of the film where they occurred. They do not tell us. We don't know. It's a country unknown, events unknown for the most part, and that's a little dangerous in films like this, because then it means that the writers and directors can take a lot of liberties. They don't have to stick to facts. They can just present anything they want just to create a cinematic story. And I have to say, the film is pretty good. I mean, it's a good film. It's nothing. It's not a terrible film from a cinematic standpoint. From a political standpoint and a cultural standpoint, it made me very uncomfortable. I think it's more of non-African, non-black people presenting Africa in a certain way. And it made me extremely uncomfortable. They're very comfortable presenting Africa in ways such as this. I mean, it's film about child soldiers in this mythical African country of unknown origin. And, you have all the killing of the parents, death, rape, all these things are in this film. And, killing of civilians, the whole thing. I mean, if you follow the stories in a lot of these conflict zones about child soldiers, a lot of similarities started to start coming up in a lot of these conflict zones. Child soldiers is something that pretty much happens everywhere. In all continents, where there's warfare, in some way, somehow, there's children, combatants, taking part. Now, the amount fluctuates depending on the conflict zone. But historically, and 20th century, 21st century, it's a very common thing. It's a tragic thing. I think one thing is that because of events such as Liberia, Sierra Leone, northern Uganda, I think people attribute a lot of these child soldier things like almost like an African phenomenon, like it only occurs there, and it really occurs everywhere. That there's warfare going on. The rich countries, they have the money and the resources, but they don't have to really depend on children. But a lot of the rebel groups that operate in these countries, they do use children in certain, or depending on the age limits change. It might be someone in their teens in Chechnya, or in fighting one of these separatist movements in one of these European countries. Someone that's under the age of 18, I mean. It may not be as young as 8, 9, or 10, but, it's a phenomenon that occurs in a lot of different places. I just felt that, the film, you so rarely see things that are positive from Africa. And you rarely see things that can create a complete picture of what's happening in the African continent. That, singular films, they become of greater importance because there's not a large body of work. So presenting films such as this, and I'm sure a lot of people who see these films will feel like they understand the issues that are going on in these countries now. Oh, if they see something on the news about something that happened in a conflict zone, they're going to go back to this film. And I say that because I remember one time in the 90s, and I don't remember the name of the film, but it took place in the Balkans. And it was Roger Ebert, I forget who his co-host was, whoever. It might have been after Gene Siskel died. Or it could have been before, I don't even remember. All I remember, they were talking about the film, and they were saying they were basing on their opinions on world events or based on what they saw in the film. They were saying, well, based on this film, now I kind of understand the conflict in the Balkans now. This wasn't a documentary, this is a feature film. And I thought that was kind of dangerous when I saw that. Like, maybe you want to read up on it more. This film can introduce you to certain concepts, but don't think you understand the issues going on because a director presented a film to you. I think that's a kind of a dangerous thing. And I think film, especially since, like I talked about before, this is not a real country that was presented or real issues. It was, a blend of different things that happening in several different countries. The director decided to bring the light through this film. I think it's a good film. It's not a bad film. And they said that it's going to be Canada's entry into the Oscars. They're going to try to get an Oscar for this film. And I see that a lot of people are going to watch this film and feel like they're seeing truth as opposed to a story. And so as someone that's kind of sensitive to these type of things and representation of people who look like me, I felt that the film in and of itself is extremely dangerous in the way it presents the issue. You know, everything is there. Violence, superstition, and people can watch a film like this and see that, well, this is this people's nature. What's happening here? That's just the way they are. And I think that's a dangerous thing. I could not really get the impression of how other people, what they felt about the film. When I go to these type of things, I don't know anybody else in my life that is interested in foreign language films. I don't know anybody. No one I ever met. I've met a few people that have mild interest. They're not against it. But I don't know anybody that's seriously into it as their main source of entertainment or the preferred films they would view. A lot of other people I know, they'll watch it, but it's not, their preference is probably see the latest blockbuster that's out. They want to see that. Their preference is not, like, I don't know anybody that goes to the Philadelphia Film Festival who looks forward to it and buys multiple tickets. I don't know anybody that does that. I occasionally see people who buy a ticket to a particular film because of their individual interest in that one film is like an event film. But in general, I don't know anybody that really goes out of their way to see the film festival like I do. And that's kind of, I'm kind of worried about it because, like I said, the crowds are diminishing. There's not as many people. There's still a great amount of interest. And they're always adding something new. Now they have a lounge where you can hang out. I don't even know if I'm able to go to the lounge at my particular level of a member of the Film Society. I don't know if I'm in access to the lounge. I think anybody has a ticket has access to the lounge, but I'm not sure about it. Also, they have vendors, and they had a food truck. I didn't see they had 3 food trucks listed, but I only saw one. And the food was actually pretty good. It was a Trinidadian theme truck. I never had Trinidadian food or any type of, I don't know if it's authentic or it's just, an Americanized version. But I never had anything in that realm, so I was happy to try it. And the sandwich that I purchased was actually pretty good. It just didn't last long. It was kind of small, but it was good. I liked the flavors and everything was really nice. So if I see that truck again, I might go to it again. It was like $5 what I bought, so it was, affordable for me. But this is just the beginning. I was supposed to see another film today. What's the name of that film? Oh, We Are Legion. And the funny thing is, I've seen We Are Legion online. It's the film about hackers and Anonymous and all that. But the film was uploaded to online video sharing sites. Let me just say that. and I was looking for the trailer, and I've seen the whole film. So even though I have a ticket to see the film, and actually the film might be still going on right now. Oh, you know what? It actually is over at this point. But since I already had an opportunity to see it, I didn't feel like going to see it again. I probably would have, but it's in a theater in West Philly, and I don't go to West Philly that much. And it was way after Warwitch was over, so I was gonna have to kill time, and I didn't really feel like doing that today. So I just went home, and since I already seen the film, I'm like, what's the point? So although I had a ticket, I didn't go to the film. But just to talk about it, I think I saw it Thursday. You know, it's very interesting with the new computer culture, the abilities of people in their home to make a difference and make changes happen. Now, a lot of times you don't know where to, focus those activities. What should I do to make change happen? Where should I, where should I put all my efforts into? And the thing about the Weeda Legion, a lot of it came from what's that name of that website? 4chan. I didn't know that. I didn't know Anonymous came out of 4chan. It makes sense because 4chan is known for the anonymous thing. And I've gone to 4chan a couple of times and it just doesn't seem significant to me at all. There's a few web forums that I visit on the net and it does not have any drawing power to me at all. I occasionally stumble upon it, but I don't see anything there that will keep me coming back on a regular basis. So, but it's really powerful to a lot of people around the world, apparently. And I learned that from this documentary. And they were putting forward efforts. Now, the thing about it is a lot of the efforts they were putting forward were kind of pranks and to get back at people in the media that, for whatever reason, they stumbled upon and had a problem with. So, and as they were doing these pranks, they were actually breaking laws, you know. I mean, there's certain things on the internet you can do that people think is harmless because they're just online and playing around, but actually there's some legal consequences. I could post a crazy video about somebody that makes threats and all these other things. They could go to police and I could be arrested for that. And I could say, well, I was doing it for a joke. I didn't mean anything by it, you know. But, just because it's online doesn't mean it has consequences. So a lot of the things, these people got sucked into doing a lot of things against Scientology, against, white supremacists and people, like that. But in the process, they were doing things that were illegal. And, when they got caught, now they feel that they are spokespeople for, freedom of speech and freedom of expression and all these other things. I don't know if I agree with that. I think if they were doing this strictly for activism and not as a part of a internet forum who's known for pranks and memes and all these type of things, I would have had a lot more, believability for me. I think, in the end, a lot of these kids probably have their heart in the right place, but I really wonder about the sincerity of their activism. It seems like they're just trying to stick it to different people. And, I don't really believe in that. I think, and I don't take this that far, but I believe that all this antagonism doesn't really solve anything on the internet or otherwise. I think we really need to scale things back and approach things in a different way. Other than that, the film has some valuable things where it shows the power to make change, where they talked about how they were assisting people in the Middle East as they were combating these regimes that, were on their last legs, but it wasn't until the people took to the streets and to the internet that they were able to push these regimes into history, That was probably the most significant thing, how they were assisting these people to keep their online presence alive. And, that was pretty significant, you know. And I wonder how much of what is in the film is correct and how much of it is just the truth that the documentary filmmaker was able to find. Did it, how many people, how many voices were left out of the story? I kind of wondered that when I saw the film. But, and also some of the things that, I just didn't feel like there was enough story there. It was just kids making pranks. If they were doing it strictly for activism, it would have been more profound to me. And not just trying to stick it to people, just to have something online to post to their friend, hey, look what I did last night, and that type of stuff. Well, I'm going to be seeing maybe, well, most definitely I'm going to be seeing 2 films tomorrow, possibly 3, depending on how things unfold. I have to see how everything lines up. 3 films, it's been a long time since I've done that. I think I haven't done 3 films in one day. I'm talking about viewing films not in the home, but going to venues to view films. I don't think I've done that since uh, 2000 and the disaster of 2004. Is it 4 or 2005? I get them mixed up. I think it's 2004. Where I saw, oh no, 2005, where I saw like 20 films at the Philadelphia Film Festival, and I had a multiple days of 3 films in one day. It drove me crazy, and I didn't space the stuff out well enough. And sometimes they were too spaced out, so I had to kill time, and it was crazy. This, it wouldn't be spaced out that much, so I probably have time to go to each individual film. But a lot of issues arise. Time you need to eat. If you have 3 films straight, you don't have time to eat. So you end up just eating, stuff at the movie theater, which is expensive, and it's not really stuff you don't want to fill up on popcorn and soda and candy. You can't. So you're sneaking in food and the thing. So and then going to the bathroom and stuff. I mean, it's just 3 films is too much. I might do it because it kind of fits the schedule, and there's a film that I want to see that I haven't even checked to see if it's still in the theater. It's all festival. So it'll be 2 on festival and maybe 1 on festival that I might want to see tomorrow. But we'll see how everything loads up or unfolds. All right, peace.